Hey, what's up guys? NullRage here, taking a look today at the newest hero coming to Marvel Heroes, Ant-Man. Let's go ahead and hop in and have a look at his powers here. He's got 3 trees going on. Before we get into this, let me explain this is Test Center, and things will change over the next week or so before his release, and I have not had a whole lot of time to look at all the powers. They all seem, kind of straightforward, unlike some of the other heroes before. But we're gonna hop in, and if I miss anything, just let me know in the comments below, and we'll try and correct that information. All right. So he's got 3 trees here: particle brawling, equipment, and insect constructs. Particle brawling is going to be based around, well, punching stuff in the face. Equipment is going to use a lot of his scientific equipment. He is a, well, I don't know, Scott Lang doesn't, he's a background as a thief, right? Does he have much scientific knowledge? I don't know, but he's got a lot of scientific equipment that he uses, thanks to Hank Pym and all that jazz. And then insect constructs, of course, is going to revolve around ants, which is part of Friends in Low Places. As Scott Lang, aka Ant-Man, fights, he will have a chance to summon ants. You can see this meter down here at the bottom. You've got pools of ants here. You've got 1, 2, looks like 10 pools, so each one's worth 1,000, and a total of 10,000 ants. You can use these ants on these insect constructs for various powers. You can see they have an ant cost here of about 2,000, 1,000 there, 1,000 there, 2,000 there, and then 2,000 there. So that's how all that's going to work. We're going to see that when we get to that tree. But the main thing, this character centers around is anytime he hits things with non-ant powers, particle brawling, and equipment, he'll generate some ants. So let's go ahead and hop in to the particle brawling tree. First up, we've got physical damage from Shrinking Strike here. It's just a basic attack, nothing too fancy, except when he uses it, he will shrink. And most of his attacks in the particle brawling tree are going to do that kind of thing. He's going to shrink down to a smaller size and use those punches. And you can see the ants that have been generated just by punching things in the face. There's the ant pools down there, and they will fly around or run around doing damage over time to things. And that's some passive damage output. It's not really controllable until you get to the insect constructs tree. We'll have a look at that in a little bit. Now we've got Can't Catch Me. This is his basic movement power and dash ability. Here you can see he just jumps around. Can't catch me. Oh, that's gonna be funny. But you can see as you pass through enemies, it will do some damage. There's a spirit cost involved, and it goes away pretty quickly if you just run around, jumping around going, can't catch me. Okay, anyway. Inch High Goodbye is his next skill, doing some physical damage, knocks enemies into the air, and it has some synergy with Fistful of Ants, an ability over here in the insect construct tree. Fistful of Ants gains 50% damage if used 4 seconds, within 4 seconds of using Inch High Goodbye. So you use this one, and then you use Fistful of Ants. Let's have a look at Inch High Goodbye. Now I'm going to try and zoom in for a lot of these powers because he does shrink down so you guys can see everything. There we go. There it is again. Just a basic uppercut. Nothing too fancy. 4-second cooldown on it. And then when used in conjunction with Fistful of Ants will do extra damage. And Fistful of Ants does, well, exactly what it says it does on the tin. A fistful of ants. Pretty cool there. We'll have another look at that when we get to that power. Next up, we've got Tiny Takedown. It's got a very fast attack speed. It's going to do some physical damage, and will do 25% increased damage against enemies under attack by Red Hots or Drone Strike. These are, again, 2 abilities over here in the Insect Construct tree. I'm just going to put we'll go with Red Hots. Red Hots is just going to do some physical damage over time and some vulnerability as a low ant cost, so it's pretty easy to maintain. Let's have a look at Tiny Takedown. Tiny Takedown is a melee shrink ability, so it is not a basic. This is going to be sort of your single target spirit spender. You can see very fast attack speed. It's incredible. And then if you use Red Hots, you put some damage over time, and do extra damage with this attack against that target. Alright, cool. Moving on, we've got Think Small. This is your passive ability for the Particle Brawling tree. It's going to give you some damage rating, some crit rating, some brute rating, some damage rating versus enemies not targeting you, and we'll talk why that's good when we get to Clothes Make the Man, probably. He's got a lot of he's too small to be seen, so a lot of times enemies won't target you, kind of stuff going on. And it's also your crowd control breaker, probably a maxed out passive. I'd say there's the stat scaling you can see when you get to 20. Alright, here's the CC break if you're interested in the animation for it. Wait, did that? Yeah, okay. So you shrink down, you are Think Small. You shrink down, and it seemed to do some kind of stun on the people around me. I don't know. Let's use that again. I saw something pop up over their heads. Yeah, it was like a very small stun. I don't know. That's not explained anywhere on the tooltip that I can see. Yep, no. So I don't know what that's coming from, or if maybe that's just a small bug that'll be worked out. Not 100% sure, but it will shrink you, and enemies will stop attacking you. Maybe not stop attacking you. No, because you don't go invisible. You just break out of CC. All right. Next up, we've got Bouncing Bolt, doing some physical damage per hit, and 25% increased damage against vulnerable enemies. Again, you can make them vulnerable with red hots. And it is a bouncing attack, it looks like. It hits a maximum enemies. 6 repeat damage is reduced. And it looks like only the damage increases with the skill. The maximum number of bounces does not increase. It's always 6. Let's go ahead and have a look at Bouncing Bullet. So Scott Lang himself is going to shrink down and jump on the people's shoulders, smacking them in the face as he goes, I guess. That's pretty cool. He just dashes back, dashes around through the various targets. And this has no cooldown, so you can use it quite frequently. And I believe you can't take damage while you're jumping around on their heads. So, it's maybe useful for avoiding attacks and stuff, which is pretty cool. Alright, now we've got his signature, Bigfoot Sighting. Physical damage and 50% increased damage to enemies close to Ant-Man. So if you're standing right next to him, you're going to take more damage from the stomp, but it does have a generous AoE itself, so people on the edge of the ring will take damage as well. It's got a knockdown and a 20-second cooldown. It's pretty nice. Big burst damage, and there's the scaling on that. You can see only the damage itself goes up. None of the other effects increase with points put into the skill. There we go. I'm going to zoom out for this one because Bigfoot Sighting. Get it? Get it? Because his feet are big, and because never mind. I know it's an advanced joke. No, Bigfoot Sighting, pretty cool. He's going to use his ability to grow as well as shrink. Most of this stuff has been shrinking, but he can also use I guess it's the helmet, right, that allows him to do this, or maybe it's the suit. I'm not familiar with his exact powers, but he can grow as well as shrink, and that's going to allow him to do some nice AoE burst damage. All right, so we talked about Friends in Low Places being I think that is controlled by the helmet, right? The helmet allows him to talk to ants. And that's what this is all about. The passive effect generating ants, we've seen that. But Friends in Low Places also has a active effect. You can see when you put points into the skill, you probably want to max this out because they'll always be there doing something, right? So you want to max out the damage that those ant swarms can do by maxing out that skill. And that's passive damage. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I don't know. Depends on when you get to the builds. And then we've got an active component on here. Now right now the active component is a little bit bugged, and what it says it does is it generates 10 ants. What it's actually doing is it is summoning all your ants and giving you the max number of ants, but it doesn't generate any ants right now, and it also stops the generation of ant pools. That is a bug, and what I believe it will do is just, generate, summon 10,000 ants and max out your ant charges once it's done. So you'll just, anytime you want to summon those ants, let's say you've used some of your Fistful of Ant powers, or your insect constructs, then you can reliably count on being able to generate those friends in low places right back to full and go to town spamming more ant powers. But again, we'll see as this character gets tuned. That is a known bug and they're working on fixing it. Alright, Pest Control is next. Physical damage and applies some vulnerability. It's just a basic AoE. There you go. It looks like you can spam it, so very nice for AoE clear, just clearing out everything around you, throwing that vulnerability on them as well, and generating more ants. Always generating more ants anytime you hit with anything in these two trees, really. Pretty cool. Now we've got Faithful Steed. Faithful Steed. There's a T in there. Alright, that's going to allow him to, it's his basic travel power. It's going to allow him to shrink down and fly around on an ant. This is so cool. So cool. He's got his little buddy. His faithful steed. Ant-Man and his faithful steed. Okay. So, because it is a flight power, you can't go through... No, I guess you can. Maybe I was just, on the wrong thing. Anyway, sometimes flight powers, they put you too high and you can't go through doors properly. But it looks like this one works. I don't know. But that's pretty cool. Next, we've got a Bioelectric Blast. Bioelectric Blast, doing some physical damage. Got 3 hits of physical damage. It's going to cause a weaken effect, and it's got a 3-second cooldown. Let's have a look. Oh, so it's got a nice AoE. Let's get another look at that, zoomed out. And it's going to do 3 hits of damage. You can see it hitting three times. That's pretty cool for some nice burst damage. And it is going to apply that weaken as well. So you might want to use this, I don't know, every time it's up. Frontal Cone AoE. Pretty good. And I told you about the shrinking, we had some increased damage to targets not hitting you, and here's why. Close Make the Man. This is mostly a passive effect, which is going to give you damage negated. It's going to give you some dodge rating, some defense rating, some evade, and some dexterity, giving you more dodge rating. But it's also got an active component to it that says stay shrunken indefinitely, gaining stealth until you use an offensive power or take damage. And you shrink. And you just stay this way. And if I go over here, now this is the one power. A lot of your powers. I do that. I'm gonna not stay shrunk. All right. So if you use a lot of your powers, then you're gonna become unstealthed. But this one ability, as long as you don't hit anything, you can travel using this. Or can you do this? Can you travel? And then if I come out of that, I'm not stealthed anymore. It would be nice if I could stealth and then use Faithful Steed, because that's not really a combat power. If I were going to recommend any changes for this character, that would be one. And it may in fact be a bug that you can't use Faithful Steed while you are doing Close Make the Man. But, that just makes sense. It's not really a combat power. I'd like to be able to fly around on this while I stay stealth. But anyway, now this ability, when I'm stealthed, it's the same as invisibility. Enemies won't attack you. Normally this brawler would attack me, but he can't see me because I'm tiny. Neener, 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 you can't see me. Alright. So now we've got, and because of this passive, Think Small, when things can't see you, you're going to gain some extra damage rating for that first hit after coming out of stealth. So, extra damage. Cool, cool. Now we've got the Definite Particle. Yep, the Definite Particle. It's definitely the Definite Particle. Alright, it's going to increase your regen passively. It looks like maybe the regeneration does not go up with points put into the skill. I don't know. Damage tuning and all that stuff is not done on any of these, so that scaling may not be working properly. But you can see it's got a passive effect, which just causes you to regenerate over time, and it's got a buff effect with, it has a 20-second cooldown, and it can apply a buff effect that will increase your movement speed, your shrink power damage, shrink power base damage. That's all of these particle brawling. Anything that says shrink on it has that tag shrink. That will get 20% damage for 7 seconds. It also will increase your ant stats. So your ants will get 5% crit, and there you can see the scaling on that. So that's cool. Up to 20 points, you got 24% critical chance to added to your ants, and almost 40% shrink power base damage added to all of your shrink powers. Now, one thing that I'm a little bit confused about is whether or not this shrink power, the ant stats, does that increase the crit chance for abilities with inset construct? Let's just go ahead and max that out and find out right now. Yeah, that sounds good. We'll do this one. This one damage over time, and we'll generate some ants. Pop definite particle. Some ants get stats, and then throw that out. And I'd say those crits were probably not gonna happen without that popped. So I think it does increase the crit chance for your insect constructs. Just not 100% sure on that just yet. We'll take some more testing. See, now there's a full dot with no crits on it. So maybe not. Maybe it only increases the crit chance for your friends in low places ants, and does not increase the crit chance for any of your insect constructs. It's likely that it's just the friends in low places get increased crit chance, but it could be that it increases it does something for your insect constructs too. That would be cool. Alright. Moving on, we've got the ant tree, which I'm sure you are all eager to see. Alright, insect constructs. We've talked about red hots, we've talked about fistful of ants, and we'll get into some of the other stuff. Red hots, though, is physical damage twice per second, apply some vulnerability, 1,000 ant cost. So let's generate some ants. And there you can see, it is a little bit of an AoE. I hit all 3 of those with it, and it does some physical damage over time and applies that vulnerability. Again, it has an interaction with this one right here, Tiny Takedown, which will cause damage enemies affected by red hots or drone strike to take 25% damage from Tiny Takedown. And then we've got Fistful Goodbye, or wait, what? Fistful, I combined these. Wow. Okay, brain is scrambled at the moment. I was combining these. Anyway, Fistful of Ants having some interaction here with Inch High Goodbye. Fistful of Ants doing some physical damage and knocking enemies into the air. And like I said, doing that extra damage after Inch High Goodbye. Put that there. Alright. Let's get some ants. And Inch High Goodbye, and then Fistful of Ants. So that's your combo with these two abilities, and it looks like the cooldowns line up perfectly. To every time one is off, you can go right into the other. It's going to give you a nice combo kind of playstyle to use with these two skills. Very cool. And then we've got Drone Strike. It's next up, doing some physical damage over time. It's going to apply a slow at continues. Okay, so even if they move out of the area of this drone strike, they will still be slowed. It's got an area duration of 6 seconds. It costs 1,000 ants, and you can maintain up to 3 at a time. So there's 1, there's 2, there's 3. You can see the ants just flying around, swarming, absolutely swarming the area, and doing some damage over time. When stacked up with red hots, this can be quite effective damage over time ability. There you go. Throw out both of those. You got red hots doing some damage, you got drone strike doing some damage, and nice damage layering there, as well as, you know, friends in low places as always. Then we've got For the Colony is next, doing some physical damage and weakening, doing extra damage against weakened characters. So you'll probably want to use Bioelectric Blast before using For the Colony. Let's go ahead and put that right there. Alright. Now For the Colony is... Let me get some ants generated up here. Alright. Now For the Colony does a slow moving line attack kind of thing. Oh wow, that didn't actually hit anything. that was interesting. All right, let's try this again. There we go. The projectile is a little bit strange. It doesn't always. Sometimes it'll just stop like that. I guess there's some bugs with this, but hopefully those will all be worked out and it'll, you know, just fly through doing damage in an area. I think it maybe even has some like sway to it, so it like moves back and forth finding targets a little bit. I don't know. It's a little bit strange, this ability, but it summons a tidal wave of ants to overwhelm all enemies in your path. If they didn't want to get run over by ants, then they really shouldn't have insulted their queen. Alright, next up we've got a wall of ants here. It is going to stop enemy projectiles and block enemy pathing. It's your basic damage wall. If I get some ants built up, then you can see. Oh, and you know, these are, it's not actually doing damage itself. Those are just my friends in low places doing their stuff. Let me get some, just a little bit more build up and go show you blocking of projectiles here. As you can see, I'm completely safe behind this wall. Cool, cool. Alright, next up we've got Ant Decoy, which is going to work sort of like the ant wall, except it's not a wall, it's just a decoy. It's going to summon out and taunt enemies, and when they hit it, they will take damage over time. Do some physical damage over time. They probably just get ants on them and those ants start biting them and stuff. Alright, here we go. There we go. Alright, and there's the decoy. You can see him. He looks just like me. They'll never know the difference. And he'll throw out some taunts. And then cause things that attack him to take damage over time. Let's go see if we can get this guy to take some damage over time. There he is. Hit him! And now you can see he's bleeding. Alright, cool, cool. And of course, the damage over time from this skill can be increased with points put into the skill, as well as the dummy's health and defense. Alright, finally we've got Ant-Nado, which is Ant-Man's ultimate here. It's going to do some physical damage twice per second, and it's going to negate damage while you are channeling it. It's got a channel time of 10 seconds. Do I have to hold the button down? I'm going to hold the button down just in case, but you may not actually have to hold the button down. I'm not 100% sure on that. And it's just going to summon an Ant-Nado. Let's have a look. I can move while I do it. Oh, this is cool. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure if I have to hold the button down or if it automatically does that, but that's cool. Just summoning an Ant-Nado and absolutely destroying everything around. That's going to be fun. Alright, that was Ant-Man. We'll have a look at the costumes when they are available. There are, like I said, well, did I say this in this video? I don't know. I think there's going to be 3 costumes for him available at launch. Maybe just 2, but you know, there has been rumor that a 3rd one as Hank Pym will be available as well. The first 2 are just going to be Scott Lang in various costumes. We'll have a look at those should they get added before he goes live. And I'll see you in those videos. We've got to look at story mode is getting a revamp, so I'll have a look at that coming up soon as well, so don't miss that video. Maybe some other stuff, I don't know. We'll see what else is here on Test Center, and I hope to see you there. Take it easy. Have a good one. Peace.